So I have personally tried many amber perfumes in my lifetime. Some of them are on the sweeter side of things, some of them are more rich and resinous and balsamic. Here we have an ambery fragrance that actually has Turkish Rose Absolute and Geranium. It's a really unique amber perfume. This one is called Click Song by Une Nuit Nomade. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on this fragrance. Make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin my fragrance review of Une Nuit Nomade's Click Song, and I tell you about this fragrance, what it smells like, how it performs, so on and so forth, I do want to start things off by mentioning that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Of course, make sure to enable all notifications by clicking on the bell, and give this video a thumbs up if you take something of value from today's episode. It would really mean a lot to me. So, taking a look at the note breakdown for this fragrance, you have a beautiful amber accord in the base, and it has all of the ingredients and principles that you would expect an amber accord to have. Vanilla, benzoin, labdanum, warm, resinous, but there is that sweet overtone about it, which I really enjoy. It opens up with a nice dose of bergamot, and of course it has this geranium rose combination that also smells quite natural, and I think that that's always a good thing when you have realistic smelling ingredients in the perfume. It just brings the perfume to life, and then there's also kind of like this patchouli vibe that I get in the base with some cedarwood. In any case, this perfume was composed by Serge de Oliveira. He's the same perfumer who did Boule de Rose by Le Parfum de Rosine. I'm excited to talk to you about the smell and why I think this is such a special amber perfume, but let's go ahead and start things off with the presentation. Now, of course, in the opening, this thing is an amber overdose. I mean, there's a huge dollop of amber in this thing. So if you're a fan of amber perfumes, you're looking at something that is sure to please you and enchant you. Now, of course, as I mentioned earlier in the video, there are some amber perfumes that are rather dry, some like L'air du Desert Marocain that can be on the spicy side of things, and of course, there are some ambers that are very sweet. Now, I think there's a really nice balance happening in here. So you have the vanilla, but then you also have the benzoin and the labdanum. The benzoin adds a little bit of a medicinal vibe, and then the labdanum has this exotic sweetness about it. And so it's a very well-rounded, very full and robust type of an amber that you're dealing with here. And it's personally one of my favorites, right? There's another fragrance by Laboratorio Olfativo called Alambar, and that fragrance is also quite beautiful in terms of how sweet and ambery it can be. But this fragrance has a certain complexity about it that I really love. And the complexity is brought forth not just by the cedarwood and those patchouli elements that I mentioned before, but specifically the Turkish Rose Absolute. So it takes this amber perfume and it adds this exotic element to it. And it also smells kind of like sensual and romantic. And of course, when you think of rose, those are certainly some of the things that come to mind. At least for me, it is. So it opens up very bright and sweet and warm and flavorful. And then it dries down to something very romantic and sensual, like a close encounter / between the sheets kind of a fragrance. And so if you're looking for a fragrance that smells professional, smells warm and exotic and intriguing, but also has this aura of sensuality about it, I think you're going to find that from this fragrance. Now, that amber accord certainly lasts for a very long time, and part of it also kind of reminds me of Ambre Nuit by Dior. And so we're talking about some amazing amber fragrances, some of my favorites actually. So as soon as it evoked the vibe of those fragrances, I was like, okay, I know I have something here that I can truly fall in love with. Now, this fragrance retains that amber vibe for a very long time. So I'm talking like 5, 6, 7 hours into the dry down. And when you think about it, it's those ambery and resinous ingredients that really hold the fragrance together and really sustain the fragrance and are comprised of the bulk of the dry down, right? Of course, you have the woods and the patchouli, but that's kind of secondary to the amber. So it smells exotic and it brings you to a different place, olfactorily speaking, but also, quite literally. I mean, it shifts your mindset to something that is very meditative, and it puts you in a very spiritual frame of mind. And when you think about these resins, of course, a lot of them are biblical, like benzoin, which in the Bible is referred to as gum Benjamin, if I'm not mistaken. So you do have a lot of really warm, really natural, and very well done ingredients in this fragrance. Now, for me personally, this is a dressed up scent. Of course, there's this casual, meditative, sensual nature about it, but I can certainly see this one working best on a romantic evening with that special someone. I probably wouldn't wear this one to the office because I'm looking for something perhaps with a bit more citrus in it for the office environment. And of course, I have a lot of fragrances that can, fit that bill and that do that really, really well. But this is definitely a warm, romantic date night kind of a fragrance. I think that that's the best situation for this one. Perfectly unisex, of course, and I think the brand put something together that is really, really nice and that's going to be enjoyed by a lot of people. I did look online and I saw some comparisons to Coromandel by Chanel, but Coromandel is a sandalwood scent, and this one doesn't really have a whole lot of sandalwood. There's cedarwood and there's amber, and it can kind of put you in that frame of mind. But of course, this fragrance is unique. It does its own thing, and I really enjoy the complexity of this ambery and sensual perfume. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, while I did mention some other amber-based perfumes, this one is unique in the sense that it has that rosy geranium thing happening in there, in addition to the cedarwood, the patchouli, and those ambery ingredients, all of which kind of contribute to the uniqueness and the complexity of the fragrance. Overall smell is going to be great. It is a little bit on the heavier side. So of course, if you're a fan of fragrances that are slightly sweeter, and of course, if you're a fan of dense, heavy fragrances, especially ambers, definitely check this one out. Longevity is great, 8+ hours on my skin. Projection was amazing for the first hour and a half of application. I wouldn't say it ever radiated beyond an arm's length, but it did radiate at an arm's length, and it retained that type of longevity and projection for a very consistent amount of time. And so I would say that lasted for like an hour, hour and a half, and it didn't really start to sit closer to the skin until about that 6-hour mark. So the performance for this one is very, very good. Versatility, great for date nights. I wouldn't really wear this one casually, although as long as you can afford it and you're in the mood for it, by all means, please wear it. Please wear what makes you happy. I think this one is perfectly unisex. I think this will appeal to anybody of any age, and I think this one is best for the colder weather. Presentation on it is really nice. I enjoy the atomizer and the aesthetic on the box. My final verdict on this fragrance is, if you're a fan of ambers, you definitely have to try this one. A complex amber, very well done, with a hint of rose in there that smells quite natural, very romantic and sensual. A job well done from the brand. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you appreciate this review, and I hope you took something of value from this video. If you did, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit the bell, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.